What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, Errol Spence is the mark now. Errol Spence is the newly crowned three-belt, unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be top three best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And some people may have moved him up on that list. May have him at number one, number two on the pound-for-pound list after he defeated former WBA welterweight world champion Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas via 10th round stoppage victory after breaking Yordenis Ugas' right orbital bone. Okay, with that said, Errol Spence Jr. is now 28 wins, no losses, no draw. 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He now holds the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, the Ring Magazine, and linealship to the welterweight world titles. Okay, so Errol Spence now has proven that he sold out. 40,000 people was in AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, better known as Jerry World. Okay. 40,000 people was in attendance. More than likely another successful pay-per-view. Numbers haven't come out yet. Fight just took place Saturday. And now Errol Spence obviously is the target for many. Okay, many people are going to want to fight Errol Spence now because he has the hardware. Okay, he's proven to be a superstar within the sport of boxing. In 2020, he did the largest gate out of anybody. That included 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, he did a bigger gate than both of those guys. And so he's proven to be a superstar. Now, out of the shadows comes Olympic gold medalist, 5-division world champion, Mexican superstar, Hall of Fame, iconic superstar boxer, turned promoter, Oscar the Golden Boy De La Hoya, and Golden Boy Promotions, looking to now push a mandatory position for his fighter in undefeated Mexican superstar welterweight title contender Vergil Ortiz Jr., who is 18 wins, no losses, no draws, 18 wins by way of knockout. He is 24 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. Vergil Ortiz Jr. was scheduled to face off and compete against Michael McKinson. That fight was scheduled to take place earlier this month, but he suffered some health issues, some injuries, and he had to be pulled from the fight. Vergil Ortiz is ranked number one in the World Boxing Organization, with the champion being none other than Errol Spence's biggest rival and the biggest fight in the sport of boxing between Errol Spence and undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, was widely considered by many to be the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford. He's ranked number one in that sanction body. And he didn't push for the fight. He fought Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker, former WBO junior welterweight world champion and fellow stablemate and close friend of Terrence Bud Crawford. And he made a lot of noise and a lot of headlines saying that he was going to call out Terrence Crawford, who was helping train and prepare Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker for his fight with Vergil Ortiz, and be in Maurice Hooker's corner, that he was going to call out Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is going to see him stop his fellow stablemate and friend, and then he's going to call him out, and he wants to make a fight. He was already the number one challenger in the ranking system. Well, he didn't do that. After the fight, he stated, when asked about a fight with Terrence Crawford, was he ready? He says, as ready as he's going to get. He don't know if he's ready, but those are the fights he wants. He didn't push for the fight. Then he fought another forward, Terrence Crawford, and Igas Kavalauskas, and he looked vulnerable in that fight. He got hurt in the fight, got wobbled, looked like he was on the verge of getting stopped. Nonetheless, he weathered the storm, came back, and he stopped Igas Kavalauskas. And he's number one in the WBC, World Boxing Council ranking system. He's being pushed. He's being backed, okay? And now the world wants to see Terrence Crawford fight Errol Spence Jr. in the biggest fight in the sport of boxing And now Oscar De La Hoya is trying to claim that Vergil Ortiz deserves an opportunity. He's a mandatory, and he wants to push for the fight. And then he goes on to say, imagine if Al Heyman sent him an offer sheet or an email willing to make the fight at AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Jerry World, where Errol Spence has made a name for himself. He's fought Mikey Garcia there, he's fought Danny Garcia there, and he's also fought now Yordenis Ugas there. So he's made a name for himself in Dallas. He's actually born in New York, but he's raised in Dallas. Vergil Ortiz and Errol Spence, they came up in the similar gyms and same gyms, so they're very familiar with one another. And they had a spat and went back and forth at one point in time as well. So there's a storyline, but nobody wants to see that fight now. Everybody wants to see Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Nobody wants to see Vergil Ortiz and Errol Spence or Vergil Ortiz and Terrence Crawford now. He had the opportunity. Last time he fought was August of 2021. He stopped Igis Kavalauskas in the 8th round, but again, he faced adversity. No doubt he weathered the storm. But when he fought Maurice Hooker back in March of 2021 is when all of the traction started to begin between him and Terrence Crawford, and he didn't push for the fight, okay? He had an opportunity to push for the fight, and he didn't do it, okay? So now the fans don't want to see that. So Oscar De La Hoya publicly puts it out there that he wants to push for Vergil Ortiz and Errol Spence Jr., and Errol Spence quickly turns that down. Lets it be known, I want Terrence Crawford or I don't want anybody. The fighter I want to fight is not on your stable. You don't have him under contract. He's not with you, okay? And he lets it be known, he says, Oscar De La Hoya says, imagine if Al Heyman, this is what he says, right? Because he knows that Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are possibly looking at fighting at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, okay, as a massive fight, okay? Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, because that fight is not going to happen in Dallas, because it's going to happen at a neutral site. It's only right for Terrence Crawford, okay? So the fight is going to happen at a neutral site. So with that said, he knows that Allegiant Stadium is the most likely option for Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence to take place. And so here's what Oscar De La Hoya had to say. He goes, imagine, quote, imagine if Al Heyman lets Errol Spence fight Vergil Ortiz and I stage it at Dallas Cowboys Stadium, where Errol Spence just fought and already established and made a name for himself there, or at Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium, right? So you want to piggyback now off of Errol Spence's hard work and all the heavy lifting. Okay, that's an issue that a lot of people have when it comes to Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence is fighting and beating all the world champions for their belts, okay? He beat Kell Brook back in 2017, in May of 2017, for his first title opportunity in the UK in front of 40,000, 60,000, 50,000 screaming fans in hostile environment for his first title opportunity. Then he beat Sean Porter, two-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who's a sure ballot, first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, has the best record in the sport of boxing, only rivaled by Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao, win, lose, or draw. And in every fight, even including in the draws and the losses, they was all competitive fights. Sean Porter's never been blown out, even in the stoppage loss, the one stoppage loss in his career to Terrence Crawford. In that fight, at the time of the stoppage going in the 10th round, many people thought Sean Porter was up on the cards. That's where the epic moment comes from, when Terrence Crawford is sitting on his stool in the corner, and he's somebody telling Terrence Crawford that he's down on the scorecards, and Terrence Crawford is saying, I'm down on the cards, I got to make it happen, right? He felt, the urgency to, to do something big. So with that said, he was even very competitive and arguably winning that fight against Terrence Crawford before the stoppage. Okay, so and he didn't get knocked out. He got knocked down twice. His father, trainer, manager Kenny Porter, saw enough and waved the white towel. So you can, I make a strong case that Sean Porter is a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. Especially look at some of the other guys that's in the Hall of Fame, and they don't compare to Sean Porter. So win, lose, or draw, his resume is only rivaled by that of Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. And then you look at his third fight was with Yordenis Ugas. So he beat Sean Porter in a unification for the WBC title. He beat Kell Brook, who beat Sean Porter for the IBF title. Then he beat Yadena Sugas, who beat Manny Pacquiao, who Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman for that title. And now he's looking to go after Terrence Crawford, okay? He's already established himself as a superstar in the sport of boxing. He's already established himself in Dallas at Cowboy. He has a day named after him. April 16th is now Errol the True Spence Jr. Day in Arlington in Dallas, Texas, okay? So he's already established himself. Vergil Ortiz Jr. has fought some good fighters, okay? He beat Maurice Hooker, former world champion. He beat Igor Kavalauskas. He has beaten some good fighters, but he hasn't established himself. And now he wants to piggyback. Now they want to push for mandatories, and now they want to push for the fight. And now he's saying, imagine how big that fight would be in Allegiant Stadium. It won't be that big because Vergil Ortiz is not established. He's yes, he's a superstar, Mexican superstar in Mexico, and a superstar within the circle of the sport of boxing, but he's not globally spilling out into the casual fan world, okay? And to have it in Dallas, yes, it would be a major draw in Dallas because he's from Dallas as well. He has had, you know, a history with Errol Spence Jr. You know, he's been in the gym. He has a fan base built in, and Dallas has a huge Mexican fan base. So yeah, Dallas, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, that would be a huge fight. But again, Errol Spence would still be carrying the fight. So Errol Spence, he responds to Oscar De La Hoya and completely turns it down and lets him know. So here's what Oscar De La Hoya had to say once again, quote, imagine if Al Heyman lets Errol Spence fight Vergil Ortiz, as if he's saying that Errol Spence doesn't want to fight him or Al Heyman don't want to let him fight him. Let's Errol Spence fight Vergil Ortiz and I stage it, and he stages it at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. Errol Spence is already established at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. Why would he need Oscar De La Hoya to help him establish his name or stage it there, okay? Or in Vegas. Vegas is the ideal place to have Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. That's not going to happen. So Errol Spence responds, he says, imagine if I said no, and he put caps, I only have interest in one fight and he's not with you. And then he puts the emoji, sorry, right? So now, obviously, Errol Spence is going to be the target. Errol Spence is going to be, you know, the guy that everybody wants to fight and make a name off themselves or, you know, get a big payday, just like a lot of fighters want to do with Canelo Alvarez. Though Errol Spence completely shoots it down, lets it be known, Terrence Crawford is my interest, and I have no interest in Vergil Ortiz Jr. now. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.